Then we're back. We're back. It's a doctor's surgery. You know how we do it from 8 until 11 on a Tuesday morning. We just bring you all the discussion points that we feel pertinent in the news, nationally and internationally, for the past week. Sorry, I'm just a bit taken aback. I was speaking to a caller um, during the news on the advert break. The call came through before the news on the advert, and it was a very heartfelt discussion based on the things that we were talking about. So yeah, and the producer is continuing the discussion. So yes, if I sound a bit distracted for momentarily there, what I was saying. So sorry, just to go back into the information quickly. If you want to take part in the show, the number is 0753 9968143. I'll give it again, 0753 9968143. Um, the It's Omega 104.1 or omegafmradio.co.uk, um, mixcloud.com/Omega DJ, Omega London TV presents, and our live broadcast station where you can see us live on air. The Doctor's Surgery. Go onto YouTube, you search the Doctor's Surgery, then go into filter by channels, and we'll be right there at the top, the Doctor's Surgery. So welcome back, and thank you for bearing with us whilst we took a pause to pay the bills, the news and the advert. Okay, the adverts. So as we were talking, and as we were saying earlier, we were talking about accountability, and I do agree strongly with the position of accountability, and that we need to be accountable. And a lot of people, they don't want to take that accountability, and this is one of the things I was saying earlier, in that I don't want to stand on someone else's shoulder to achieve what we need to achieve. That's never been our style. We don't need to stand on people's shoulders, but what we need to do is to be accountable. We need to build our own infrastructures. Accountability also means that we need to develop independence and self-reliance. This was one of Marcus Garvey's main points: self-reliance. Should I say it again? Self-reliance. Because when you have to rely on others, as we can see with the transition of things, there's so much things taking place in the background. Can we even feed ourselves as a community? You know, the one little shop in the Northwest London area that used to be a Caribbean-based shop owned by a black family. They fairly or unfairly, I would lean to the position of unfairly, they've been locked down for 3 months, so they're not reopening, or they cannot reopen until September, which is ridiculous, completely ridiculous, because of antisocial behavior. So what people were doing outside the shop as opposed to what the shop is about, I mean, some people will lean to say that, fault and blame can be placed in every direction there. Um, but I see a shop open now that was overcharging and overpricing people during what the government, what the world is seen as one of the most major crises ever. And yet that shop was closed for 2 months, and for antisocial behavior, the black owned shop is being closed for several months, 2 3 months. So these are the things are completely ridiculous. We have to look at the disproportionality of things, and we have to start taking our destiny, our futures into our own hands. Don't rely upon, we complain so much about how people try to push us out of jobs and all these other things. We need to start developing independently, what we need to do. And if we're working in a company, because let's say we all can't be business owners for true because of time and where things are now. If you're in those situations there, make sure that you understand the laws and stick within the bounds of the procedures. So should anyone try to push you, we can get that rallying support, that rallying cry. I go on to the final issue that I never got to do in the initial first half of the show, and that's about the black military militia groups that are now forming right across America. I saw a video clip of a major militia group in the United States. And to be quite frank, at the time it was a beautiful thing, because I feel that in the United States, the dynamics and the infrastructure of how things are is quite different. And in the past few days, it was brought to my attention of a black militia group in the UK. Now, do you need essentially a black militia group? I wouldn't say no, and I wouldn't say particularly. I would say we need to be organized and be willing to defend our community. That's part and parcel of the ethos of the militia group. On that front, I support them. However, the narratives that were being pushed out by the female speaker of the video that I saw seemed awfully misplaced and misunderstood. Um, Not misunderstood, confusing or confused, I should say. Because a lot of the things that were being said was as if they were in the United States and not the UK. We have to make things relevant to the country and the place where we're at. We cannot just take the problems that's taking place in the United States and broad brush it to be synonymous of the same issues taking place in the UK. No, we need to do our checks and our rechecks on what's taking place in the UK. So everything we put out there is with accuracy. So much so that a lot of people are put out a lot of misunderstood information, and it's this inaccuracy that we need to always remedy. I know there's in the Northwest London area, up there enough, you have Devin Morgan that he's put out a spew in relation to slavery. And just to kind of highlight a part of it, he was saying that during slavery, it was legal for people to really learn how to read, us as black folks. And he questioned the reason why, as to what didn't they want you to know? Was it the knowledge of our history? Um, and he from his research, I haven't double checked this as yet. From his research, he was saying that there's only one known book, in English translated book, that kind of talks about um, our story in detail at the time, and it was unlikely that we could get our hands on that book. So he feels in his put out that the purpose of us not being allowed to read was because reading allows us to improve our capacity to think, where, as everyone says, the brain's like a computer. So the more data it receives, the more understanding or overstanding and conclusion the individual taking in and assimilating that information is able to come to. So therefore, we improve our abilities to solve problems. So that goes towards everything that we said today. The more that we read, the more we realize that England has its own nuances and its own problems between black and white relations. And we need to address them appropriately, because we cannot then take the issues and the nuances and the problems impacting in America, the more overt problems because of the more overt racism in America. We cannot take that and then apply it to the more subtle racism that takes place in the UK. We have to address the issues taking place in the UK in a more in a more stylized way that is relevant to the issues and the topics that we are debating here in the UK. Because if we just take the information coming out of America and trying to apply it to the UK, you would look like a blithering idiot. And we don't want to look like an idiot. We want to make sure that that's not the case. Um, so you have to wrap up the call soon. So that's something that we have to be that. So this is something that we have to bear in mind. Okay, so we cannot just broad brush paint everything under that same individual banner. This is where reading and going out there and researching broadens the mind, and it helps to create that wider grasp and that wider thinking and that wider overstanding. So, big up Devon Morgan on that little spew there. I just wanted to kind of highlight that aspect of the information that he's putting out. I don't know if he's got a new book coming. Um, so yeah. So if you want to take part in the show, we need that phone line freed up. 0753 996 8143. That was the last part of the song. I'm going to have to recap everything now. If you're just tuning in, welcome. It's the doctor's surgery. What have we been talking about this morning? We've been talking about a lot. If you want to take part, 0753 I'll give it again, 0753 We were talking about things in and around the wireless scenario. We went on to highlight basically the understanding of things from different perspectives, from different cultures, having a grasp on how different cultures may look at things and how we need to be conscious of our words because words are powerful. But in the same context, we have to also be more grounded in knowing where we are coming from when our family members speak and not just try to do like what David Lamida did and just paint everyone with the same brush as if the guy is vile and out of Nazi Germany in that sense when you could tell that's not what the young man meant in the context of things. So all that was said, we bigged up and if you want to go and listen to the first part of the show, it's right there on the channel, The Doctor's Surgery. That's up already on the first part of the show. And the second part of the show will go up immediately after this show finishes at 11. You can listen to the second part of the show again. So if you want to listen to what was said before, you can go and listen to the first part of the show already. So yeah, so we wanted to highlight that the highlight the wider based ramifications of that with other black folks being put up like Kano being put in the Guardian and being pictured as Wiley. So I'm sure that has impacted on Kano in some parts. Um, a picture says 1,000 words. I hope he sues. I hope he takes on the responsibility of clearing that poor judgment and that poor journalism by the Guardian. And this is not something new. The newspapers tend to do that all the time. They do that with the female MPs. They put up one picture for the other quite a lot. The BBC even spoke about that on a spew. We bigged up Megaman, the founder for Soul Solid Crew, for his support for Wiley, because, like I said, that's not what was meant to be the case. And we also discussed the BBC using the N word on now two occasions. The text message earlier highlighted that why don't we do something about it rather than complaining? And this is what we're doing. We're making it known that, with other groups, the BBC doesn't repeat. With other groups, the BBC doesn't repeat. With other groups, the BBC does not repeat the inflammatory comments and the disparaging comments that have been said about other groups. But yet, with black folks, the female white presenters on both formats, if it's not the same woman, has felt it that pertinent that she can use the N word, and describe black folks, even if it's repeating what was said with the first incident. The matter was two, for those who don't know, two white guys drove a car onto the pavement. So it's not the guy was walking on the street or something or crossing the road. He was walking along the pavement. I think he was coming from work or he's going to work, one of the two, I can't remember. And they man, stop text me foolishness, man. Let me talk. they they was they were he was driving the car and keep showing off my thoughts. Yeah, they was driving the car into the young black man, the two white guys, onto the pavement, sending him hurtling through the bush onto the front yard. Um, Sent him hurtling through the bush onto the front yard, breaking up a few bones. Sorry, I just lost my train of thoughts for a second. Breaking a few bones and stuff. The doctor say he was lucky to be alive. So we were talking about that aspect of things and how the information there was poor and lackluster. The response from the police was poor and lackluster towards the benefit of this young black guy. And I'm not quite sure why the police response to that was so lackluster, and what the family is doing about it. So we wait to hear what the outcome of this will be and what the family's feedback will be so that we can lend support to the scenario, because it's quite disheartening to know that a young man, with a promising future, doing his thing, working for the NHS, so he's a key worker, helping his community, heading home, and can be a car of two white youths can just drive into him, practically nearly killing him. So attempted murder, and then they can just run off. The family are terrified, so much so that even the witnesses are terrified. White witnesses are terrified, so they disguise their voices on the BBC interview. Now, so the presenter repeated what the attackers said using the N word. Um, and I just felt that the BBC should practice wide, a wide range and fair policy towards all groups and not just one. Why is it that the disparaging comments can come at us? So we need to complain about that. Why is she using the N word? Why is this presenter feeling it so free and cons blanc that even the editors and it would even play it on, or the producers of that show would even put it on? Why did they edit it? And why didn't they just say the N word? They shouted the N word and whatever. But to repeat it is in a sense of continuing in the same sense, like I said earlier, with the Wiley scenario, his words were hard cutting, and they weren't the best words because he said his words didn't truly represent what he meant. So they weren't the best words. So in the same sense, the BBC playing back those words, that wasn't the best word to use because they were offensive, and a lot of people were offended by the BBC. I know there's a complaint in already, and I think this complaint should be backed up with further support for those who can take the time out to go online and lodge a complaint about the poor journalism coming from the BBC in regurgitating and repeating the N word. I say that because I want there to be balancement and fairness in the UK, for everyone equally and fairly. I don't really deal with equality. So if it's a fairly, you know, there was on the BBC as well. There was they did a talk about the impact of the artist's work last week, and you know, I won't go into that because I keep getting text messages from compromising me from being able to speak. So so we can't. I'm afraid to talk now. Management are telling me to talk. No, I'm lying on management. It's not. I thought it was management costing me. Yeah, so I think also, I said I think management is right. Well, I apologize, management. I didn't see it properly. I thought he was telling me off. I apologize. Hands up, hands up. I was guilty with that one. Management is right. Management said to me while he was regurgitating things that was coming out of the States, just like the female that I was talking about with the Black Militia Group. I yes, in some parts and some degree. I don't think to the same detriment. I think while his comments were like in his interview with Sky News, and as I had surmised, based on what I heard and I'd surmised, his response was because of his anger. And if you haven't seen that interview with the on Sky News, try to find it online or something. He was explaining that he was having problems with his management group and everyone around. So his legal team and his management group. And if you notice, the comments were based in around those directions. Say it was like he was saying, if you can't stand up and say this and da, 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 da. It was very. It sounded a bit more like of a personal attack on someone, but using the broad-based community of what the person represented as opposed to anything else. And a lot of the notions that was taken in that the stereotypes, a lot of it has come out of the American doctrine. So you are correct in that one. So if I'm going to apply the same logic and thinking to if I'm going to apply the same logic and thinking to what's her name, the female militia leader, the young female militia leader that recently put out a video online of the militia group behind her, then I have to apply the same logic and thinking to Wiley in fairness. And also some information, some of the thinking behind that, and this is what I mean with the roads. The road teaches you things through you hear from other influential people that makes their voice be heard on the road, and that information tends to be generic. And this is why I say you can unpick a lot of these things to know where something is coming from if you understand the grouping or the stance of where someone is. So again, I would always say that the words you choose to explain something, you have to understand where they come from. You have to understand where they come from. So management, I apologize. That's what you were saying, and I misread. I thought you were telling me off for repeating the whole information. So Mr. First, you have to leave me alone. You threw me thoughts. So I apologize. That's me wrong. I can do that as a man on air live to say I was wrong with that one. Um, so likewise with the female presenter, yeah, what I mean. But I don't think he per se apologized for he apologized for the misunderstanding of the rant. And last week he didn't really throw anything that might support under the bus, because last week I said I don't think he meant that. And if you listen to my show from last week, I said I don't think he meant that. I think he was talking to someone had upset him, and he was speaking in relation to that person, but he was generalizing in his comments. So I support him on that basis. So with his apology, actually, with his said apology, actually explaining that he wasn't meaning to all groups. And even in my show last week, I was saying by the community's response to him, by the everyone trying to boycott Twitter and everything, it was as if they were reasserting inappropriately the things that they were regurgitating inappropriately the things that he were saying. They were regurgitating, they were reasserting, they were making it as if the things that he was saying, the disparaging things that we were saying, had credence, because that's how you would take it, because of the influence that came behind it. You have to understand the furor that if you were in that group, you would feel. And I explained that in the first half of the show, why you would feel that furor and the anger, because of subtlety of comments that were left unupdated and left unchecked can become disproportionately wide. I finally got the phone back, so we can do some text messages. I don't know why you wanna take the phone. So, Carla, don't me vex with you. All right. Please do not get me wrong when I say this, but black people do not support their own. Black people will open businesses. They will Black people will open businesses. They sell West Indian products, but instead of buying from their own, they will go to an Asian shop and fill their pockets. Why do they do that? Then before you know it, the business closes, as it appears they are jealous, and rather than build up the black man's business, they would rather give it to another race. That's madness. And in my opinion, that's why they have problems with progressing, and the very reason why our nationality strive, or I would say
Strife.
strife. Okay, there is little to no unity, and that's half of the problem, sadly. So that's the first text message. Is sorry, I didn't have the phone to the person that texted that in, so I'm just going through the messages now. Instead of looking outside for a reason to why black people are not exceeding within this country, they need to look they need to first look to themselves or yourselves. And the very reason why mixed race people are given a hard time by black people is that we get on with things. No point on sitting and moaning about the past. Education is where you exceed and are able to fight the oppression that is clearly there. But if you have no unity between yourselves, why would you expect others to listen or respect you? Um, I would disagree in much parts to, and I would agree in much parts to both those comments. The first comment, I wouldn't say there's I have much disagreement in that. The second comment, who is it? 48 The second comment is that if we look at the statistics, I just want to say something to kind of correct that thinking. If we look at the statistics in the care system, in the criminal justice system, the proportion of kids that are most dysfunctional in those settings are mixed race kids, mixed race youngsters, because the family structure breaks down very quickly. In those structures, those mixed kids are logged and registered as black whenever anything negative comes off it. So it seems like there's a higher proportion of black kids in these settings. But to be quite frank with you, having done my research, you realize over the years that the highest proportion from the 90s until present have been children from mixed family backgrounds. So when you say it like that, it's a misnomer, because it's like the Jamaican shoe bomber. The Jamaican shoe bomber, the Jamaican shoe bomber was his grandfather was from Jamaica. His grandfather came from Jamaica, had a mixed race child. That child went with someone from another race again. So the guy was so far removed from Jamaican, it was unbelievable. From Jamaica, it was unbelievable. But because he put a bomb in his shoes, the English people, the English racist media, didn't want it to say the English shoe bomber, because it would make England look bad. Because that's what he was, an English shoe bomber. So they went to his grandfather. How much grandfathers you got? You got two. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he went to his grandfather. So that's so far removed from what he was, and said the Jamaican shoe bomber. In the same sense, when you look at the records in terms of children in care, children that are falling out the school system and all these things, you have a lot of black boys, but a lot of those boys that have been labeled as black, the higher proportionality are mixed children. So it affects us all. When you think you're there and saying we just get on with it, we don't look back at it, that's because you hear only the positive when it says, oh, they're mixed.
Yeah, they attribute it.
They attribute it to the positive. So you yourself, 480, are falling for the misrepresentation within the media and the press. And you're not even realizing that you yourself are being oppressed by misinformation. I just wanted to clarify that because I set the record straight with things. So that, unfortunately, is the part that I significantly didn't agree with. The other parts that we need to get on with it and do what we need to do, I agree. But don't romanticize it. You know what I'm saying? Do not romanticize it because it's not a romantic thing out there when you go into the nitty gritty and you find out what's going on. You realize how they use these little subtle nuances to hide the extreme bigotry and racism that takes place. And I say the bigotry, the sexism thing is a major thing. And I've always allowed my producer to be the main spokesperson on this because I don't want to go into the crux and core of it because I want to build up listening recognition of what I represent rather than people think I'm just saying something bitter because I don't deal with bitterness. But since there seems to be this misrepresentation, I would be failing in my duty not to correct it at this as we speak. So when we have black groups, black women saying, I feel left out in this space. And as black men, we have vastly left our women unprotected. Not because we happily left our women unprotected, but because when we look back at each generational period and you observe what's taking place in each generational period, you start to notice certain things. When we look back at the 70s and 80s, black women were at the forefront. You know, white girls learned to want to be black. In the 90s, this culminated in the explosion of black culture right across the globe. You had black clothing, you had, everything was about black pride, more so in terms of trend and fashion and where it was. So if it was in dancehall, it was your Shabba, your Buju, and all those people at the time, and all those artists in the early 90s. In America, it was all your rulers of the new school or rulers of the old school, whatever they call themselves. And all these artists that were coming out. You get me? Everything was in that fledgling stage. You were wearing cross colors, Carl Kanai, Fat Farm. It was black, everything black, black identity, FUBU, for us, by us. During that period, black women became hard to get. Let me talk. Let me talk. Now bonfire right across the board. You get me? Nobody now get unscathed. Yeah. Black women became hard to get. You try to talk to certain black girls, the attitude they gave you became extremely stink. So you start to get we can't download what was sent to down. What's that? We're unable to download the information you sent to text message 480. We're unable to download that. I'm not sure what it is, so we can't even comment. So you might have sent some rebuttal or something, but I can't download anything. I don't know what you sent. So where was I?
Black women were hard to get.
Yeah, and it made a lot of black guys saying they can't deal with it, and they started talking to.
So you wanted mollycoddling.
They wanted mollycoddling. They started talking to women from other ethnic groupings, and that's what happened. And it became Whereas it was a lesser degree at one point, it became a commonplace thing, more so amongst that generation.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I don't know about the older generations. The older generations were doing their thing. You know what I mean? Because
Can
every generation might have experienced the same transitional point.
I just quickly interject on that?
Mhm.
I think the whole idea where you're saying black women were hard to get,
Yeah, one day to get.
it's just a little bit problematic in a sense of
Mhm.
a lot of a lot of the notions of which other women can rely on, black women don't have that they can't rely on those laurels. So in a sense of, this world doesn't allow black women to necessarily be soft. Not to say that there are women that aren't, not to say there aren't black women that are soft, but this world makes you so oppressed and so angry and so sets you in sends you in a particular narrative where that is how you're going to.
I agree with what you're saying, but you can be strong and polite.
Mm-hmm.
You can be strong and polite. That's all I'm saying.
But sometimes I just feel like in some situations, politeness doesn't get you nowhere, and especially
No.
with black women, it gets to a point where I just need to get the job done, and I just need to. It might exacerbate the situation rather than if I just cut it dead now, it's done and dusted.
That means we're in agreement because there's repercussions from every action.
Mm-hmm.
And the repercussion from every action is that generational transition, it flipped the coin and placed women from other ethnic groupings on top, and the trend has never been reversed in this country.
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense, because if you look at other races of women, no matter what their discrepancies are, no matter what their behavior is, they are still held in the same regard. Whereas only black men that come along now.
No, I never say I agree with the man. No, I'm just saying the man them fit have more backbone. If you're saying to me, what about the men's role in this?
Yeah.
I said the man them fit have more backbone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because if a girl turn them down, they have to know about them approach.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So they have to have more backbone than themselves.
Why is that the repercussion?
Well, no, man, it is the repercussion because the one never have the backbone and one have the ferocity. You get what I'm saying? With me have to say, yo, how you talk to you can't talk to me. I ain't got no behavior, so I'm gonna tell them don't talk to me like that. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to do it in an aggressive way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell them them can't do that. They're wrong person. You get what I'm saying? But the men never had no backbones.
Mm-hmm.
And those men wanted simplicity and ease.
Mm-hmm.
And likewise, the women, the courtesy that goes a long way. You understand? So we did it too long and short of it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying, to remedy things, that's how I see it. We did it to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And to remedy things, we need to make those steps. One, the black women need to walk heads up without any negative influence in the light of the sun.
I can agree with that.
You know, and they're not doing that per se these days. They walk heads up with pride when they have some synthetic features to them. So rather than getting, I heard a friend once say, rather than get a fake white woman,
Mm-hmm.
you might as well get a real one.
Mm-hmm.
You get me?
Mm-hmm.
Or you get a real black woman.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? They don't want the in between. And if the woman then were with the in between thing, they will eliminate a lot of people that want to come in their space, because the people that want to come in their space, they reflect that fakeness, that synthetic. And if you don't know what me I talk about, if we look on RuPaul,
Mm-hmm.
RuPaul not that space, right? But if a woman did natural, and if the epiphany of black beauty was naturality, RuPaul would have been in a different space. You know, start compete.
RuPaul is in a different space.
No, in that compete with white women then because of the look, but because black women also try to prescribe to that or ascribe to that fake beauty.
Yeah, but you have to understand where it's stemming from.
Me no business where it stem from a fake beauty.
You can't do that.
Why
I'm
not?
allowing that. I'm not allowing that.
Go on, tell me why.
Because I just feel like with the whole RuPaul situation, RuPaul came from the black woman's image, right? And then it became
let me finish.
Oh, but let me finish. And then it became this whole exaggerated idea of what a woman is, right? So I just feel black women, wait, let me finish. Black women put on these
appendages, fake appendages,
however you want to call it, however you want to call it, to be acceptable in society, to get themselves into spaces where their natural self wouldn't necessarily be accepted. So I just feel like it's unfair to compare something like with drag culture.
But that's how they become looking.
I understand that's how they become looking, and so I feel like drag have very much become mainstream.
Yeah, but that's what
culture.
I'm saying. Black women that think they're beautiful, they look more drag than anything else.
But a lot of those women that look at that certain way are getting the more attraction.
From who? Not from me.
Oh, okay.
You understand what I'm saying? I can only
if you have a look on numbers on Instagram of who's being followed, you'll see that particular type of person will be followed.
But this is what I'm saying.
Natural...
But this is what I'm saying. You lot are going on social media, which is synthetic.
I'm giving an example.
You want me to talk?
I'm giving an example.
You want to talk? You get me? Listen. All I'm saying, you lot go on social. When you go on social media, you see things that you think is real. But a lot of the time, social media is made up. It's a Hollywood thing. When you see the people's followings and stuff, they know who they want a lot of people following. A lot of those followers are fake. You get me? It was pushed synthetically.
Mm.
You get me? It was pushed synthetically.
Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of that spills out into society and how society I just think society reflects social media. Social media reflects society. Like one way it impacts on each other.
Okay, so the message is cleared up then.
I don't know what happened there, but yeah.
So it says, have we seen this? 480, let me see. So let me repeat. The Hello Racist Police stopped and searched 22,000 young black men during lockdown. 22,000. That's why I'm saying that a friend of mine was stopped because they thought he was 2021 driving a flashy car. So they wanted to pull him up and search him. But when they pull up on him, they realized he was a big man that looked young. You get me? But then they tried to style him, sweeten him up by going, "Oh, mate, we thought you was a youngster," as if he was going to say, "Oh, officer." You get me? So you have to tell the officer about himself because you have to think about the youngsters that are going through that tribulation. You get me? The youngsters that are being stopped and picked and victimized because their parents work hard and buy a little nice car, get them so they're not on road. The police are dragging them out of their car, treating them like they're drug dealers, just like the athletes that we saw. You get me? So this equates to what? 30% of young black men in London don't ask us why we're tired. You get what I'm saying? And that's from The Guardian. You get me? The Guardian's sketchy sometime now. Yeah, so no, I didn't see that. 22,000 in 3 months. 22,000 in 3 months. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes, you talk to some of your younger friends and say, "Oh, what you up to?" Say, "Ah, man, I'm going home. There's too much police on the road. They just headache." So it's like you're living in a lockdown state. But that's a different story. Next week we can't talk about it. We are gonna stick to what we are talking about this week. Yeah, but I didn't see that. No, I haven't seen that. So just jump back on topic. So to kind of wrap up for the time being, unless it becomes newsworthy again in the next week or a few weeks, the colorism issue is a major problem. And for me, the way that I see out of the colorism issue is for black women to stand firmly in their space as they are, represent their natural beauty through natural hair, dreadlocks, or whatever style they want. Keep it neat. In Jamaica, we have a talk about dry head adassa. Yeah, dry head adassa. Yeah, that's someone that just don't look after them hair. They make it look dry and brocky and picky. Yeah, Lord. And we it's not the most positive term for a black woman, but it just means say, yo, get some nice products, because guess what? Every day there's black folks out there putting out natural products. If you lot want me to recommend some, if you lot want me to recommend some for natural hair based on hair texture, I can get the producer to do it, because that's all she research every day sometimes. Yeah. So some can be recommended, right? For natural hair. So to look after your own natural hair, make it shine on pretty. You get what I'm saying? So these are the little things that we need to walk proud about who you are. And until you start walking proud about who you are, this is to my black sisters. Until you start walk proud about who you are, no one ain't gonna respect you. And it has to be done in mass. Walk proud. And this is why I like the Beyonce video. You know why? Because it inspires people to start taking on back a lot of those high fashion looks in hair, in natural hair. The braiding, the decoration of the braiding, and all those little things, the patterning of the braiding, all those little things. The hairstyle lasts for 2-3 weeks easily. Same and better than the perm. There's no excuse now, because we're going to hijack Black Lives Matter. We're going to hijack Black Lives Matter. So if someone in your workplace say, why you here look like that, it's not nice, it's aggressive or something, then we take them to task. It's your time right now, black woman. Before you used to say you can't go work with it like that. I even see the black woman on the BBC with her natural hair.
Quick one.
Oh, quick one, yeah. Quick one. It has to be quick.
Yeah, I just want to read you this quick. It's a quick thing. It's what I was trying to say, yeah. You have to respect yourself if you want others to respect you. So I'm going to read you the word slavish, yeah? S-L-A-V-I-S-H, yeah? It's a following or a copying, yeah, of something without trying to be original. The words are small, so I can't say it so good. But I'm going to see the first part. The first part is saying that slavish. That's what I'm saying to you. That the people who are doing this, and that lady, I'm saying to her, we keep making excuses. If we don't stop the excuses, we can't move on from where we are back.
Got you.
Listen,
I'm not going to rebuttal it just yet.
Because you need to, you can't blame someone for what you are doing. You have to take responsibility.
That's right.
For what you're doing.
That's right. Got you.
That's the only how you can stop that.
Got you. Got you. Got you.
Sorry about that anyway.
No, man, I got you. No worries.
I don't necessarily agree with
No,
that.
I got you. I understood it. It made complete sense. Don't worry.
All right.
So slavish, in short, taking on and trying to look like something other than you. Yeah. So the black woman them, I'm gonna be controversial now. The black woman them we are going like them with the slavish thing, right? They need to step away from that.
That's
the black
what I
man
said.
them, we are going with the slavish thing. Because we know the black man are going with slavish thing too. You know what the boy named Chris Brown? I don't know why I deal with these days. Yeah, them I deal with the slavish thing. When them start represent themselves, you get me? Then look like yourself. Take on some different, you can be flamboyant with it, but look like yourself. Stop trying to look like somebody else. Yeah,
I'm not going to go into rebuttal on that because we ain't got time. So you have to come back next week.
I'll come back next week and
start cussing everyone.
Yeah. So anyway, we're at the end of the show. It's been a pleasure speaking to you guys, the listening audience, and for everyone that's taking part. I hope the brother that called in, I hope you're able to, have an amicable resolution based on the matters that we discussed. And like I said, don't beat yourself up too much. It's not going to be healthy. Okay. All right. So yeah, the doctor surgery, I do some doctoring. You get me? What I would say is stay tuned, keep listening. Please spread the show, the YouTube channel and everything. Advertise it, please. For those who can. Text message reads, your show is too short. And a short is short and late, we late. Every Tuesday morning, we late. You know what I mean? This morning was my fault. I was so tired, you know what I mean?
Oh, you're late for what?
Normally, your fault still, but this morning not my fault. So please remember, it's the Doctor's Surgery, the YouTube channel, and the Omega time of 3 to 11. Please advertise it, get it out there for us. We'll be greatly appreciated. Until next week, management, so if you get more time, still know, I don't know if we can talk for 5 hours, me kind of trouble management today, and management I love this, me. I don't have no animosity. I don't know you know that, yeah. All right. So until next week, take care and give care.